welcome and thanks for joining us. A number of people in the audience are from outside the UAE, so I'll start with a very basic question. I mean, can you tell us a little bit about what EDIC is and what you're focused on, what you have focused on so far, and what you're looking to in the future?
Okay. First, I would like to tell Your Highness, Your Executive, Your Excellencies, and ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm happy to be there in this fantastic event, and it's very pleasant to see these very important people coming to listen to us. Well, EDIC, as you may remember, has been set up by the government of this country to gather their most prominent assets in the defense sector. The project covers 16 companies that have to be amalgamated, and we are on the way, in fact halfway, and we are aiming at completing this long, complex but fruitful process very soon.
Okay. How do, we heard yesterday some talk about diversification of the economy here. How does EDIC play into that drive for diversification in the UAE?
Well, EDIC is a strategic asset for the country for an obvious reason. It serves the UAE Armed Forces. But it is also a strategic asset if you look at it from a wider perspective. First, it is a substantial company with about 10,000 people. It's material. Second, it gathers a wide range of high-tech capabilities, not so common in the region. And last but not least, this company is manufacturing, assembling, delivering services. So in itself, it is a big customer for the rest of the economy of the country. So all these aspects make EDIC something very strategic and material for the future diversification of the economy of the country.
So could you talk a little bit about what you see as the most exciting opportunities both for EDIC and opportunities in defense in the next few years?
Well, we are in the Global Aerospace Summit, so I will start to say that we definitely see aerospace as an exciting growth area. Let's not forget that the market is not the result of our will. The market is the result of the needs of our customers, mainly the UAE Armed Forces. But already our footprint in the aerospace is quite substantial through MRO services like AMROC and GAL, guided weapons like Thousand Dynamics, unmanned systems like LSC, and pilot training like Horizon. We see this market growing up in the future, and I think that maybe many people will agree with me to agree that one of the most prominent sectors within the aerospace domain is the unmanned systems, where we see more and more needs on the customer side.
Luc, what do you see as some of the key crossover points from defense to other industries, commercial aerospace?
Well, we operate in similar domains, even if the rules of the game with the customers are slightly different. Defense customers cannot be compared with commercial customers, but the technologies are quite close. So I think that in the future, EDIC will develop capabilities, particularly in the technical domain. One of our aims is to enable the increase of the local added value in the country in defense acquisition. And one way to get to that target is to build up testing and R&D labs in the country to help us monitor the development of a local supply chain. By rolling out that strategy over years, we will progressively open opportunities to the rest of the industry into the supply chain of our own systems. I think this model could be applied to the commercial aerospace industry here as well, because even if the end users are different, everything under the system level, down to the supply chain, is quite simple.
Okay. Workforce or human capital, a big issue in this region. Can you talk a little bit about how the development of people and development of skills are being shared?
Part of the goals of EDIC is growing the national human capital in technical jobs. It's not an easy task because the resource is not so big. There are so many opportunities for the young students in the country. And on top of that, technical jobs, I mean project management, R&D jobs, test jobs, require a lot of experience. It's not just something you get at the university. You need to grow up your capabilities within an environment that develops these capabilities. So it's a long journey, but the point I would like to emphasize there is that size matters. And this is why I think EDIC is a good idea, because by gathering these assets, the government will help a lot the industry to grow up those capabilities. Whereas each asset as standalone operation finds it very difficult to deliver the same. We will be able, for example, to run career paths for the group. We'll be able to attract young students with a long-term vision. It's easier when you are big. When you are small, it's not easy to offer somebody from the outside a long-term vision.
And you are a veteran of Thales. You ran Thales, so you know a little bit about big.
Yeah, true.
So
big is not easy as well.
Okay. How come? What's the hardest part about being big?
Well, when you become big, you have to stay agile, first. Second, when being big is a result of amalgamating companies, those companies, they come from different backgrounds. They have different legacy, management systems, culture. And you have, if you really want to deliver to your young students a career path, you have to deliver some homogeneity in your world. And it means that you have to work on aligning the management culture, the systems, the processes over time between those companies. So these are the devils in the detail behind the simplicity of the big projects.
So it sounds like culture and synergy are two big themes.
I didn't mention synergies as a goal, but it's obvious that anytime you gather things, you should dig for unlocking synergies and economies of scale. So it's so obvious that I do not mention it, but it is also part of the mission.
How is EDIC building industrial infrastructure?
I touched a little on this when I mentioned our will to develop testing and R&D labs in different domains in order to enable us to monitor a local supply chain. See it as a slow-moving but determined process that should end up with an increased industrial footprint in the country. Currently, if you take a technology provider from the outside, the first thing you will localize is a final assembly. But all the parts will come from abroad. If you are able to localize part of the supply chain, still under the design authority of the foreign partner, but in the country, it means that you will promote other industries to serve that supply chain. So this is how I think over years, because it takes time, you can, starting from a point, get a circle that becomes wider and wider in the country, and in the end also address the SMEs in the country, which should be part of the future economical strength of the economy, not in defense in general.
So it sounds like you're laying the groundwork for a very long-term vision.
Well, I'm at the start of a process. It's a long journey, and many people will have to work on this over the coming years. But what is important in life is to be on the right track. And I think the country is on the right track when it is about consolidating its defense industry. By the way, this is not the first country in the world doing it. Many other countries with more advanced defense industry have done it, and it has always delivered benefits. So this is why I'm so confident in the fact that we are on the right track.
Okay, so you're following in a path well worn, is what you're saying. Are there any of those countries that stand out as an example to you that you?
Difficult for me to give names of countries, because once you give a name, there are plenty of other countries that are not happy. So.
Yeah, I had an interview with a lawyer yesterday, and you don't want to give me names either. So, okay, what are the role of partners in delivering on the UAE's long-term vision? How do you see it?
Well, currently, many of our technology, they come from technology providers, the original equipment manufacturers. I see the relationship between the OEMs, as they are called, and EDIC, a robust, trusted, and long-term relationship. They are strategic partners. They are strategic partners not only to the end user, because they have strong influence onto the systems and the sustainability of the system, but they are also the strategic partners of the industry. And it is part of the elements of the long-term success. Even if in the meanwhile, or in the meantime, EDIC progressively develops their own capability to do their own products, part component systems. It's compatible. I see it compatible as far as the eyes can see.
Well, we're running short on time, but I wanted to wrap it up by asking you, you talked about quite a bit what you're doing. Can you tell us what you see as the most exciting one or two opportunities? What excites you the most about what you're doing in terms of opportunity?
Well, change in itself is challenging and very interesting. If you want me to speak about business prospects, I will become very shy, because business prospects are the subject of my customer, and they're not my subject. So I will focus my efforts to improve the ability of our assets to best serve my customer. Now, it is true that we are in a transition phase that will last a substantial amount of time, but this transition phase in itself is a fascinating time. Okay. And it is a teamwork, I insist on this. Part of the very pleasant aspect of those transformations is the fact that you do not transform based on an individual. It doesn't work. It doesn't last. It's not sustainable. You transform on the basis of teamwork. And the wider the team, the highest number of people buying into the transformation, the fastest the success will come.
Okay, so I guess we're going to have to just wait and see some of those areas. So we'll
as usual.
Luc Vigneron, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you very much.